So it's such a lovely day today. I thought I'd do some progress videos, and I thought we'd start with the early alliums, and not the main crop alliums. I'll leave those for another video. So we have only got a handful of red onions left and just a few shallots, and so we are going to run out of onions sometime in sort of the middle of April, and so there's a kind of race against time on now to get some early onions. So my best bet right now are these onions at the back of the polytunnel. I'm hoping to harvest these towards the end of April or early May, very early May in fact, because this is where the tomatoes will go. And you can see these are pretty good size, plenty of leaf area, and these were red winter, grown from sets, and they will start bulbing middle of April, so they should be starting to show decent sort of size by early May. But I will have to start picking some of them as effectively giant spring onions a little bit before then, but I've got loads of them, you know, so these are only the ones to last us until maybe the middle of May. I do think, as I've said before on lots of videos, these would go to seed if they were left in. They would not get to July, which is their sort of peak harvest time, before going to seed. So there would be no good for storing if they're sort of this sort of size. These are just too big. We picked thousands of salad onions over winter and just got a few left in the polytunnel and loads outside coming on. So I'll show you a few of those, but we won't dwell on those because a salad onion's a bit boring. And then in between all of these lettuces, we've got the early garlic, and we've got loads of beds of main crop garlic, but I'm hoping that this early garlic comes just a few months earlier than, not a few months, a few weeks earlier than the stuff that's outside. And I'm mainly just growing it in here just to see if it grows without any rust problems, because we normally do get some rust problems with the garlic. But this lettuce will be out of here soon, and so it'll have full access to this bed until June, and in July, sort of late July, this will all get planted up with Asian greens, so that'll be nice, and that we'll be harvesting that all through until our winter crops go in. So still in the polytunnel, I'm starting to put my early leeks in the ground. We've got 48 leeks in so far, and I think I've got space for another 2 rows. So, you know, we'll probably have in the 60, 70 leeks or something like that. And that is enough leeks to see us through summer. And then obviously we'll get the main crop leeks in autumn. So I've got, you know, quite a few more down here. And then that kind of brings me to the last of the alliums in the polytunnel, which are these little onions. So these are red barren onions planted between these lettuces, and again, I'm not really hoping for an earlier crop here. I'm just trying to put something in the polytunnel to use up the bed space and until that kind of critical period, you know, sort of August time, when I want to get my Asian greens in here. So yeah, I'm hoping, but also I think it's kind of just like a hedge, because we had a bit of a disaster with the onions last year, so I'm growing them in lots of different environments this year and lots of different types to well, basically just kind of explore the art of the possible with onions. Now we're looking under one of my low tunnels, and again we've got onions interplanted with lettuces, and in that case choy, and these are tough ball sown in December, 6th of December. They're reasonably sturdy little plants now, and so I'm hoping that I get these in about July time. And obviously this low tunnel top will have been long gone and moved over the peppers or the courgettes or the melons. And then around the outside we've got salad onions, and then in this bed, same story, salad onions around the outside, But in this case we've got red barren again just part of this experiment to see how well main crop onions do with it's planted a little bit earlier and again under the protection of this low tunnel. So you've seen my onions for May, and this bed has got the onions for June and July. It's got red winter down the centre here, and it's got tough ball down the outside. This is actually my asparagus bed. The asparagus is just starting to come through, but they grow really nicely interplanted. The onions are moderately shallow rooted. The asparagus is extremely deep rooted, so they don't really grow at the same level in the soil. The beauty of this interplant, I always think though, is timing. The onions are perfectly established, really well established before the asparagus starts to grow, and so it really doesn't interfere. The asparagus, when it starts to push through, just pushes through in between the onions and doesn't really seem to affect the onions at all, doesn't affect the asparagus at all. And both the onions will all have been harvested in July, and that is when we stop harvesting the asparagus and let it grow on. So it's kind of perfect timing really. That's my last little batch of tough balls. So quite a few tough balls. They don't really count as an early crop, but a late crop really. So I've got quite a few leeks just dotted around the edges of this bed, and a few other onions as well. So we've got quite a few early onions this year. And then when we run out of leeks, we can start harvesting these elephant garlic, which you can see already, some of these are already pretty substantial and would work well as a leek, elephant garlic being from the leek family. And they could do with a bit of thinning out, because I do let this bed go a little bit wild with elephant garlic. And I thought I'd just show you one of my many beds of salad onions, and this one is just interplanted into these little red cabbages underneath this little bit of fleece here, and so these will all obviously be harvested long before the red cabbages need the space. And then finally we've got 3 beds of shallots, and I'm kind of growing these again because they're just a little bit earlier, coming in July rather than August. And I've interplanted these with salad onions, so the salad onions should be out of here sometime in May, and obviously then that will give the shallots a couple of months to grow on unhindered. And I really love the way that shallots look, absolutely. They're just gorgeous, aren't they? And they just get better and better as they get bigger. So we've got quite a lot of these in the kitchen garden. So the ideal time to do red winter onion sets is kind of late October, early November sort of time, and that's what I've done in the kitchen garden. And they're growing on really nicely. And here's just a quick look at my main crop onions. So these are outside now, just hardening off before I plant them in a couple of weeks' time. I'm just waiting to harvest some of the overwintered lettuce and overwintered carrots, and these can hold in these big modules for another couple of weeks without any problems. So if you want to know more about growing alliums, especially early alliums and late alliums, then take a look at my ebook down below, and you'll find all about it in the individual growing guide section. So I hope you like this quick video. My name's Steve, this is the Seaside Kitchen Garden and Allotment channel, and I'll see you soon.